I want to bring in Florida Congressman, member of the House Judiciary Committee, Greg Steube. Congressman, it's great to see you here, sir.
Yeah, good to see you.
Your reaction to the president's comments yesterday?
Well, he absolutely should stay in this fight as long as we have legal options available for him in some of these states where there is affidavits of fraud that have occurred. So I support him in continuing these legal fights for as long as he can. And I know more of these states should be like Florida and not allow absentee ballots or write-in ballots coming from people who you don't know who they are and not verified. You would solve all these problems.
All right, let's move on to the other big piece of news that crossed over the last 24 hours. That's President Trump. He announced that full presidential pardon for his former National Security Advisor, General Michael Flynn. He tweeted on Wednesday, I want to show our viewers this. It is my great honor to announce that General Michael T. Flynn has been granted a full pardon. Congratulations to General Flynn and his wonderful family. I know you will now have a truly fantastic Thanksgiving. But now the big question is, who else do you think he will pardon?
Well, I certainly I thank President Trump for doing that. I wish he would have pardoned General Flynn a long time ago. What happened to General Flynn was an absolute national travesty. And I hope the individuals that were involved in the attack on him and conjuring up evidence against him, all the things that happened, are being investigated, and that will come to fruition here very soon. But anybody that was involved in this, that was investigated and charged with crimes that the DOJ at the time and this activist political DOJ was trying to take down members of the Trump campaign and the Trump team should absolutely be held accountable for that.
And there's questions about Paul Manafort and also George Papadopoulos.
Yeah, absolutely. If we have evidence that the DOJ misappropriated their ability to have justice against these individuals and were conjuring up evidence like they did against General Flynn, they should be held accountable for those decisions.
All right. I want to move on to some legislation that you're working on. Of course, we're going to have to go back to work pretty soon here. You recently introduced the Chinese Communist Party Visa Disclosure Act. I think this is really interesting. It requires people that apply for visas here to disclose that they get money from the Chinese government or the party. I mean, tell us more about this, because I think the question now with President-elect Joe Biden is how tough he's going to be on China. Obviously, you're saying we need to make sure that we are tougher on China.
Yeah, obviously, Biden's not going to be tough on China if his family received millions and hundreds of millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party. And we all know that anybody that is paid for by the Chinese Communist Party or a citizen of the Chinese Communist Party is part of their apparatus and is spying in the United States and is legally obligated to give them information. So if we have students here in the United States who are here on a student visa and they are receiving money from the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party is paying for their tuition or paying for them to be there, that information should be disclosed to us as a country so that our national security advisors and folks in the national security realm can know who these people are and who they're getting money from.
Let me push back, though, because, you know, Antony Blinken, we know that is Biden's pick for Secretary of State. We were looking back at some comments he made in July, and he actually said, and this is where I'm wondering if President-elect Biden's going to pick up on the push against China. Antony Blinken said that the Chinese, they are a competition. And, of course, Xi Jinping congratulated, Joe Biden. We know that. But what the Chinese want and what I think Biden is going to give them, I think that's going to be a little bit different.
Well, I hope that Biden comes back from the person he was during the Obama administration. I mean, look how hard Trump's been on the Chinese Communist Party on the trade deals. I hope Biden, if he becomes president, doesn't set aside all these trade deals that the Trump administration's negotiated with the Chinese Communist Party. But the bottom line is if we have people in this country who are being paid for by the Communist Chinese Party, we as a country need to know about it, and our national security folks need to know about it as well.
I want to bring in my colleague James Freeman from the Journal, because he and Marie actually wrote a book, and a lot of it was about China. James, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you see an opportunity on a bipartisan basis here where maybe you kind of have a broad coalition of saying, okay, we're going to continue the effort against China, but have lower tariffs with trading partners in the rest of the world, basically putting pressure on China if companies not only have the opportunity to manufacture in the U.S., but also maybe a better relative opportunity in India, Vietnam, Mexico, wherever it is. I'm just wondering, as we kind of try to forecast the Biden agenda, if you think you might end up with tariffs stay on China, but they get lower in other places?
Well, there absolutely will be bipartisanship if we hold the Senate and Mitch McConnell's in charge of the Senate, because Nancy Pelosi will be forced to work with Mitch McConnell in the Senate to get things done. Obviously, Biden can do things in foreign relations through the presidency that he doesn't necessarily need the options from Congress or the approval from Congress for. But hopefully we hold the Senate, and you will see some bipartisan agreements on some of our foreign adversaries as it relates to tariffs.
And let me ask you about that. Let's pick up on Georgia, because obviously, I don't know if you heard, but yet, well, I know you heard. Yesterday, President Trump said he's going to go to Georgia December 5th. That's a Saturday. So he's going to go campaign for Kelly Loeffler for Purdue. Obviously, this really will dictate what our country looks like after January 20th. How are you feeling about Georgia right now?
Well, I feel good, because I feel like, both of those individuals were ahead in their races when they called the vote. So they had more votes than the other people in the race. If you would have added what Doug Collins had and Kelly Loeffler had together, it was way more than her opponent. So I feel good about it. There's obviously a ton of money being dumped all across the country from both sides. And again, I have real concerns about these mail-in ballots that there's no verification for. In Florida, you can't do that. You have to be a registered voter. You have to request the ballot, and then that information from that person that submits that ballot is verified to ensure that it's Greg Steube in Sarasota County, Florida, that's turning in his absentee ballot. That's not happening in some of these states like Georgia, and that greatly concerns me. So I hope that the Georgia legislature and their governor and secretary of state will clamp down and require verification on these mail-in ballots.
Well, and the big thing about Georgia is going to be turnout. I mean, a lot of people that came out during the presidential election that also voted in these Senate races came out in support of Joe Biden. But at the same time, if those Democrats don't come back in January and the Republicans are energized because they know what's at stake now in Georgia, that could be the tipping point that would keep the Senate red.
Well, and that's why Trump's going down there, because one of the concerns is Trump voters just turn out for Trump and vote Republican while they're there. So the president's going there to rally his troops and ensure that his supporters go out and vote, regardless of the fact that he's not on the ticket for the two Republican candidates in Georgia, because his voters, Trump voters, are very important to the outcome of that election.
Well, markets love gridlock, Congressman. You know that. Congressman Greg Steube, it's great to see you. Thank you, sir, for being here.